Welcome to Dabware. I'm Polecat, and we're about to do an over-the-phone interview with Chad from Timber Dispensary in Allegan, Michigan. That's where we bought the Death Row records. We're going to have this interview with a getting skunky moment. So let's give Chad a call. Alright, so we're with Chad right now. He is the bud tender I spoke with at Timber in Allegan, Michigan. When I came in the dispensary there, do you recall that I came in and asked specifically for the freshest product that you had in the store? Is that correct?
Yep, I do remember that.
Okay, and you showed me the Death Row record. You didn't lead or guide me to buy Death Row records. I bought that on my own choice off of what was the freshest thing that your store had to offer. Is that correct?
Yep.
Alright. So, what is your job description there at as a bud tender at Timber? Like, what kind of things do you personally do there on a day-to-day basis?
Alright, so I either run reception, sit up front, and just scan people's IDs in, and maybe help fill out orders while they're waiting in the lobby to make things move a little faster. There's also, we have a vault room in the back, and that's where we keep all of our product locked up. It's like our secure room. So when the bud tender puts in an order, it goes back there, prints a ticket, and then we push it out through some doors to the bud tender.
Okay.
Making their job a little bit easier so they don't have to run around and grab everything themselves. And then there's bud tending itself, where I'm helping the customer and trying to find what they're there for.
When a customer comes in and they don't really know what they're there for, like me, I came in, I knew exactly what questions to ask for you to lead me to the product that I actually wanted to do a review on, which would be, being that it's the freshest product that you have, in my personal opinion, that would be the best product that you have to offer in the store at that time. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, 100% agreeing on that. Alright, so when a customer on a normal basis, whenever you're doing the bud tender job part, what's the most common thing that the customer would come in and ask you personally to lead them to if they was not an acknowledged person on what it was they was wanting to purchase?
So a lot of people, when they come in for the first time, they're pretty nervous. And they usually let you know pretty quick that it's my first time in a dispensary and I'm not sure where to start. Usually, then I would ask them what exactly they're trying to get out of it. If they're trying to get help with sleep or help with pain or anxiety, and I try to go from there and diagnose exactly what they're there for and trying to get out of cannabis itself. And then from there, I ask them, are you trying to find something to speed you up or slow you down? Because that makes a big difference in people. Like, I can't smoke sativas, they'll send me into a panic attack. The next person can smoke them all day and it helps their anxiety, does the complete opposite. So I try to tune into them and find out how their brain works and if they wanted to slow them down or to speed them up. And that usually helps me get a better direction of where to lead them when I know all of the answers to those questions. Because I'm actually, passionate about cannabis and the benefits that it has for people, not only physically but mentally. And I want to make sure people leave with what they're looking for, especially their first time, which we talked about before. Is really hard. You don't know how other people work, but there is questions you can ask and do your best to get them what they need. Your
best guess for that person, because you're giving them advice on what your experience was when you consumed the particular cannabis that you're trying to lead them to. Like whenever you consume something that has what you said, sativa, indica, they both produce cannabinoids, and from scientific research that I have studied, it shows that it's the terpene profile, the little cocktail mixture that each strand makes, that gives you the different buzz. Whether it's uplifting, that would mean that it needs to produce more of like pinene, limonene, citrusine, which is your uplifting terpenoids and stuff, where beta-myrcene and carotene and linalool are more of your relaxing body kind of, because it's like aromatherapy. And being that each strand produces a different cocktail of terpenes and terpenoids, different levels of THC and CBD, would you agree that it's extremely hard for a bud tender to know how a person's biological makeup is going to react differently?
I mean, realistically, it's impossible. It's kind of like, it's no different than going to your psychiatrist who is going to prescribe you medications for whatever you came in there asking them for, whether it's stress, anxiety, etc. You've got to do a lot of experimenting. And I always tell people, if it's the first time and they're trying to figure out what's right for them, this may not necessarily be right for you. And I would like you, if it's not the right thing for you, I would like you to call up here before you come in next time. Make sure I'm here. That way I can help you next time. Because it's easier for one person to help, do those experiments with different things and try to find what's right for you than getting a different bud tender every time and then trying to find what's right for you. And it's just very hectic, and it's impossible that way.
And it's a very confusing industry, would you agree?
Oh, very, very confusing. And a lot of it is there's not enough education.
Well, brother, that's what we are here to try to help solve. I was super stoked the day that you was like, oh, hey, man, yeah, let's take a picture together out in the front. I'll get in there with you. That's what bud tending is supposed to be about. Someone who's excited and passionate about what they're doing. And, brother, I went through Illinois and went to several different dispensaries. The first one was not a real dispensary, but it's those people that's trying to do the CBD and below 0.3% loophole kind of thing. They had
nines and all that.
Brother, they had, man, I know that brown stuff on the top, man, looked like pine tree bark, and it was like, my God, I can't believe you got that on your shelf. So, I decided right then not to go to another one of those, and that lady was extremely rude because she knew that the product that she had and the way I was talking about it, I was not going to give it a good review at all. So she just wanted me out of her store. So I obliged and left. The next dispensary I spoke with in Illinois, they were helpful, but nowhere near as helpful as you are, brother. Like, you are passionate about what you're doing, and I felt that from you. So
I appreciate, I really appreciate that feedback because it is something that I'm passionate about, and I always have been. And I'm just glad that I've got the opportunity for it to be legalized where it is now, and to be able to actually try to help people with it. Because I know it's done a lot for me personally.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, in the dispensary itself, being that you work, in several different job titlements there in the dispensary, what's some things that you would like to see change in the industry as a whole that would maybe help the industry grow and have a return customer?
I would like to see bud tenders actually being educated.
Okay.
I think that's the first step, is actually having them educated, because there is nothing, they just throw you in and there's no education. And I've been to multiple dispensaries. I know a lot of people in the industry, and it's a problem across the board.
Right, as bud tenders are there not understanding what the product is. From what I ran into several bud tenders on this trip here that did not even, consume cannabis at all. They didn't smoke. They didn't have anything to do with cannabis at all. So it's like,
It's like
how can you
asking
get
somebody
knowledge?
that takes the bus to work to sell cars.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Can you repeat that, brother?
It's like somebody that takes the bus to work to sell cars.
Right.
That don't work.
Right. You don't understand how to put gas in a car, so how are you gonna explain it to somebody else if you've never done it?
You don't even know how to drive it, bro. How you gonna tell me what to buy?
Absolutely. I totally, completely agree. When I was there, you told me about a product that you guys have that was an in-house grow that you guys have different, I guess you would say, spin-off companies of from the dispensary's personal grow. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so we have a grow operation in our own company is called High Minded. We also have, like for our lower quality stuff, it's called Weed Dot. So they do distinct the lower quality stuff, and the price reflects on that, which is nice.
Now, what's the price of their higher end stuff there per eighth? Because that's how I bought the Death Row records, and that's most likely what I'll be purchasing along the way. It helps me be able to purchase more strands and stuff at each dispensary as I do this.
So our most expensive as of right now is only 30 an eighth, which is a pretty darn good price.
Okay, compared to the $45 an eighth that I paid for Death Row records from RJB Enterprises. Yeah, I would definitely say that would be a better deal, and that's for the higher end stuff that your dispensary grow does.
As of right now, I know they are in the works of another grow facility that is going to do exotic strains. They have a strain hunter, and I guess they're actually working on that right now. So as of now, it's 30. When that gets up and rolling, I'm not sure. I think that's going to be a higher quality.
Okay.
Our stuff right now is for price point is good quality for the price point, 100%. But there is room for improvement there.
Okay, all right. Now, for the lower end product that your guys' grow produces, what would an eighth of that cost?
I believe we have eights that are 15 out the door right now.
Do y'all get that stuff in pretty fresh when y'all get it? Like, is it within a month or two of freshness, like harvest date?
We get it in I think we usually get it in within about a month and a half.
Okay, all right. Now, what do y'all do with it once it runs out of what we would consider 6 month past harvest date and it runs out of freshness? Do you start discounting it to try to make it move a little faster so you can get the fresher product on the shelf?
Yes, absolutely. So right now we just moved 2 strains, and actually we found them hiding in the storage room that they were from December. Those are the ones that we're running for 15 out the door right now, just to get them out.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. That Timber does discount their stuff according to freshness. That is a very good thing for a dispensary to do. What kind of required labeling is 100% has got to be on that label coming from a dispensary going out to a customer?
So I am not 100% on what the CRA actual laws are.
Right.
But from everything I've seen, it has to have like a source number, a harvest date, a test date. It's got THC and CBD percentages. Not everybody does terpenes. It tells you what the weight is of the product, and the name. Other than that, it's not much to the labeling. I've seen a lot of different labeling. Some there's a lot more info on them than others.
So you said some doesn't do terpene profiles on their labeling there?
Yes, and it bothers me.
Okay,
Most companies.
okay. Out of curiosity, why would you not purchase from a company that does not have its terpene profile? Like the Death Row Records, it's only got 3 terps, and I'm assuming that that's the top 3 terpenes that they found in that particular strand when it was tested. And the very first one would be the highest one, the second one would be the next, and then the third one would be the next down the line. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how most of them that list them. Most of them do only list a few of them.
Okay. So if it's only giving you the top 3 and the other ones do not, why would you as a consumer not purchase it because it does not have the terpene profile on the package?
Well, to me, it tells me that they don't really care about their terpenes.
Okay.
And to me, that's a big, that's the medicinal factor of cannabis.
The aromatherapy part of it, absolutely. Very, very big part of the medicinal part of cannabis. I completely agree with you.
And to me, if you're not going to be proud of your terpene percentages, that means A, you're probably not getting good terpene percentages, and B, you probably don't care that much about it.
Okay. All right. For me, as a consumer, but I'm an acknowledged consumer, I know from buying other packages and even having a terpene profile being stamped on it that for me, I feel like it's one of the most pointless pieces of information on the package, and that it's there for a sell point of confusion. And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay, I'm definitely interested to hear that.
Okay, due to the fact that if your highest terpene, like right now I'm looking at the designer lead by Death Row, okay, or done by RJB Enterprises. Its top terpene is 0.71% of limonene, it's 0.4% of linalool, and then it's 0.68% of B-myrcene, right?
Okay.
Okay, that's a cocktail mixture of terpenes that particular grower produced when they grew the designer league strain. If the next crop does not come back out with the exact same terpene profile, then it's not going to do the exact same medicinal thing. Due to the fact that just because it's high in limonene doesn't mean that it's going to give you the uplifting effect, because as we agreed earlier, if my body profile, my endocannabinoid system reacts different to the cocktail mixture of terpenes that is produced there than yours does, then basically I have to try it. If it tastes good and I like the way it made me feel, then that's a strand for me. I need to remember the grower, the producer of that strand, and look at the freshness date. And I agree. Hey, some people like to see that terpene profile so they'll know what they're going to get whenever it comes down to the taste. But me and you both know, just because it's got a terpene profile on the back, whenever you light that thing up, does not mean that it's going to taste like limonene, pinene, or any of those things, because the grower did something wrong. Now, we're not going to make assumptions and try to figure out what the grower done wrong. We are consumers. All we know is he done something wrong, and we don't want to smoke that product again. No matter what the terpene profile says on the back.
Well, I guess another thing that I've thought about, and I just didn't think about right at the moment, but those are just the terpene profiles of when they tested it, and that can always change.
Good point. Absolutely good point, brother, because me and you both know as it ages, some terpenes are going to fall off quicker than other terpenes. 2 months into it, you got a different terpene profile than you did whenever it was harvest date. 6 months into it, you got a completely different terpene profile, and it's starting to degrade at a higher rate from 6 months, on, and so forth and so on. So as it ages, you're absolutely correct. That terpene profile changes. So for me, I say it's almost the most pointless piece of information on a package, and if we can concentrate on something like, instead of shining with a pretty package that shows a bunch of information and stuff, show the important stuff, which they do have on their packages. And from my understanding, you said a while ago, the two most important pieces of information you can put on a package for me would be harvest date and who the grower was. Third in line would be the strand name. If he produces that strand the exact same every time, that means I'm going to get the exact same designer league every time.
Right.
If someone else produces designer league in another state, maybe they have a different nutrient regimen, and now they're going to create a different terpene profile, which is going to cause my body to react different from their designer league versus the designer league that RJB Enterprises done. You can just, start explaining to people whenever they come into your store that, basically you cannot, as a bud tender, tell someone how their body is going to react from it off of the terpene profiles and stuff. That's a good piece of information, but we need the consumer to start knowing that they need to consume the freshest product you got so that they can determine if that product was actually right for them. Because as we discussed, as it gets older, terpene profiles change, and then at that point you can't tell them shit about it.
Right. The other thing I always try to tell people is really old school term, but the nose knows.
Right.
The nose knows, let it guide you.
Exactly. So whenever you smell, all right, being that you brought up nose, we're gonna move on to the Death Row Records conversation. The 3 strands that I purchased, the Designer League, the one that has got 0.71% limonene, was the only one that I actually smelled a lemon zest kind of smell off of it. And I would expect that with a high limonene content. That would be what the nose would expect to smell, correct?
Right.
All right. Now with the other 2 strands, they both had limonene in them, but I didn't really smell the limonene very much. I smelled more of the flat, like what you would get from a cakes or cookies strand, more like a cookie dough kind of smell, not really super pungent, just kind of flat. Not a bad thing, just some people like that. I'm not super big into it, but some people are, and cakes and cookies do really well. But that's what I got from the other 2 strands. But now whenever I fired them up and smoked them, they had a smooth smoke to them. I gave it a medium on buzz. It didn't rock my world, but it was smokable. But they all 3 had the exact same lemon zest flavor. So for me, I would say that grower, RJB Enterprises, is using some kind of a flavored nutrient in their regimen whenever they're growing the cannabis. And
okay, so RJB, that is actually, it's a company called Pleasantries.
Okay.
And they grow Clout King out here as well.
For Clout King?
Yep, that's like the biggest name out here in the industry.
Okay, that's the biggest name in Michigan, huh? Or is that the biggest name in the legalized industry all the way across the country right now? Because Cookies is pretty big right now, and they push all kinds of stuff out their door.
Yeah, Cookies is big. Cookies kind of pricey out here. I guess the Clout King's really, it is too. I think a lot of it's just marketing.
Okay, so now if I was to go to a dispensary and get some Clout King, that would be grown in Michigan because they're not really doing state-to-state shipping yet. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so any of these big names it's not actually, that's just a package to put it in, right?
Right.
So you don't really know, like I explained on on the review of the Death Row Records that I done, that just because that package says Death Row Records does not mean that it was brewed by Snoop Dogg and his personal grow. They have to look on the back of the package and see who the producer was. That's just an umbrella corporation that they're just using Death Row Records packaging, and I'm assuming that they're growing Death Row Records strands. Is that correct?
I would assume that's what's going on. I'm gonna guess this is all brand new because I believe Snoop just purchased Death Row a few months ago, so
Okay.
this is probably all brand new.
Okay, all right. Well, right now at this moment, with a name like Death Row Records, if I bought 4 different strands, or in this case I bought 3 because you had 4 in the store there, and I decided I wanted to purchase 3 of them. So if I purchase 3 different strands that have 3 completely different terpene profiles, I would expect to get 3 different flavors. Would you not agree with that?
I would 100% agree with that. That's absolutely what I would expect from it.
So when you smoke the Death Row Records from one to the other, do you get a different terpene profile, or do you get the lemon zest flavor followed from strand to strand?
The Designer League was the strongest flavored one. I did taste it in the DO-double-G as well.
Mm-hmm.
We did get some new strains. I got one called Milk Bones.
Okay.
That one I did not pick it up in there. Actually, I personally didn't even care for the flavor of it. It didn't have much flavor to it. It was gas and creamy.
Okay. So it was basically like a cookie or an ice cream cake, or a cookie or a cake strand, a dessert strand, right?
Yeah, and it was very, very weak, I would say, on the cookie cake flavor. It was, the gas really came out of it, but it was almost too much.
Okay, and when you say gas, what do you mean by that?
That strong taste, it tingles your nose, makes you sneeze sometimes.
Okay, so that means it's going to have a lot of carafilline in it, which comes from like pepper and stuff of that nature, and that's what that's going to be, and that's also where you're going to get a lot more of your flatter smells from, due to the fact that terpene, and that's actually, if I'm not mistaken, I will correct myself on video if I make a mistake. If I'm not mistaken, that's going to be a monoterpenoid, the carafilline is, and that will give you that sneezy, like pepper, burny feel to your sinuses when you smoke it.
Correct, and that's actually one of the 3 terps listed on the back of the package. That one, so that one, you got that one spot on.
I'm glad that you went ahead and confirmed my educational experience, brother.
It always helps to back it up.
Hey, absolutely. That's what we're here for, man. That's why I want to do these interviews with you bud tenders and stuff. And I'm only willing to do an interview with a bud tender like Chad. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that now. Because earlier when you told me that terpene was something that you felt was very important on the package, and I had a different view on that, you was open to listen to what I had to say, and maybe now you'll look at that in a completely different way. Maybe you don't, but hey, you understood that we had different opinions. I didn't bash yours, you didn't bash mine, and we had a decent conversation like 2 gentlemen should.
No, I absolutely changed the way I think about it, and I'm actually glad that you brought that up to me, and that just goes back to the fact of the lack of education.
Absolutely.
I'm a very smart, educated person. I should have thought about that. I should have known that. But that's something that needs to be spread throughout the industry, so people can think about those things.
Absolutely, and thank you for that acknowledgement. These guys at these big industries, I'm not down in what they're doing. They're there for the money. Everybody, it was a big rush for the industry, and the only ones that could really afford the permits because they were so expensive was very unacknowledged people about cannabis. And now we have a very flooded market with a bunch of trash, as me and you call it, that's flooding the legal market, it's flooded the black market, it's flooded everywhere, and all of what we would consider craft growers now, they got left behind, man, and they're the ones who actually started this industry. My goal is to hopefully bring some acknowledgement to those guys. I know where to get quality cannabis that I consider quality cannabis, and the next time I'm in Michigan, I promise you, me and you gonna smoke some quality cannabis together, brother.
That's what I'm talking about, brother.
All right, y'all, we've been here with Chad from Timber in Allegan, Michigan. We've gotten a lot of information from him, and I hope you guys have a super dabalicious day.
Who's got the herb when I'm dry? I wanna get so